everyone, welcome to F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T, episode 135, aka Birtwistle Man on Pod. It's a Fallout showdown, all found in 25 songs in it, but not tonight. Once again, we're taking a detour, and we're very lucky to have Spenser Birtwistle, drummer of the Fall, and many other things, joining us, as well as Alistair. Evening, morning, Spenser. How are you doing?
Hello there. I'm good, thanks. I'm okay.
Very good.
Got a bit of a hangover, but it's probably Marcus had me out drinking last night, didn't he?
Yeah.
In his dreams. In
exactly.
his grave.
Yeah. And Alice, good. Glad to hear it, Sven. And Alistair, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I've got a week off now. Woo!
Very nice. Good. So, Spen, will, if it's all right, we'll just kind of do a little bit of chatting about the stuff that happened before you joined the Fall, and then jump into your years with the group. So, as a youngster, how did you get into kind of drumming? I think somewhere along the line, I heard that you had an uncle who worked with Tony Christie, one of my favourite singers.
Yeah, my uncle Steve. Yeah, he was. My granddad was a big band jazz drummer. He was Melody Maker Drummer of the year 1942, 1943. And then his son, Steve, my uncle Steve, he became a drummer. And he was a bit more of a, technical drummer. He ended up playing for Tony Christie in, I think it was the 70s. And then obviously, because I just remember my great uncle gave us a trumpet, and I was just crap at it. And I just said to my mum, I fancy playing the drums, and I got a drum kit on my birthday. I think it was 25 quid. It was an Ajax drum kit, and I was 11 years old, and I just started drumming then. And my uncle gave us a few lessons, but I didn't particularly like his taste in music. He had me drumming to a lot of Chicago, Phil Collins, Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
Prog.
All kinds of prog stuff, yeah. Till I got fucking sick of it. And in the end, I was like, I can't fucking listen to any of your songs, what you want me to learn drumming to anymore. So I just started recording John Peel sessions, and started drumming along to the likes of Echo and the Bunnymen, A Certain Ratio.
Yeah, I've done some of their stuff. Doing the Do is great, isn't it? It's really good.
Yeah, I actually played with Jazz. I did a couple of gigs. I actually only did one gig, I think it was, yeah. Night and Day, I played with Jazz, and we did that track, and funnily enough, yeah.
Right, cool.
It was like a Jazz Curse solo thing. But it was unfortunate at the time. My mum had an accident, and I had to sort of concentrate on work more than drumming at that point in time. So I had to tell him that I couldn't really do it, But yeah, I did play for Jazz, actually. Good bloke.
Yeah, and nice guy. I think one of the few interviews I've seen with you, you mentioned Pete DeFreitas and Donald Johnson from Certain Ratio as your kind of inspirations. Because I think, how old were you when you started Laugh? Or is that your first band?
No, when I was like, Mum and Dad used to run social clubs, and I used to sort of play in social clubs. I used to play in a pub with an old lady on an organ when I was at school. When I was about 14, my granddad used to take me to the Black Boy in Wythenshawe, and I used to play drums with this woman called Nellie, an old lady on an organ sort of thing. She didn't like me because I was young, and she's like had a purple rinse and all that, So my granddad used to sit there. He used to drive me there and back and that. I did that 4 nights a week, that, when I was about 14, 15.
Nice.
Yeah, I used to get a tenner a night.
It's not bad. 40 quid a week. 40 quid a week at 14. You would be king of the playground.
I was, yeah. Yeah, I was loaded. But,
nice.
In the end, I jacked it in. I just got sick of it because I wanted to go to the parties and go out with girls or whatever, and funnily enough, it brought my granddad out of retirement from drumming, and he ended up filling in for me. And he started drumming again. And he played with her. She loved it.
Yeah,
she loved it. Yeah, because you know what I mean.
Yeah,
he looked better.
He did better fit.
Yeah, and then I was in like a blues band as well for a bit. There's they're called Permanent Wave. It was like from Buxton and Whaley Bridge. Did that for a while. That was all doing like cover versions, covers band.
What stuff were you covering with that band?
Oh, right. They used to do like King B. They're up that Rolling Stones, you know, Muddy Waters, isn't it? They used to do Elvis Costello, a couple of his, Pump It Up and that. You Belong to Me. It was years ago now. It was like Dr. Feelgood and stuff like that. It was the guy who was the singer, Ian Fawkes. They're still going, actually. Right. They're called Route 66 now. But they're a good band, still going.
Nice. So let me play a couple of tracks from the band Laugh, and you can tell us how you got into that. And that was because that is very much in this jangly John Peel C86 era. Stop me if you get too emotional.
I'll be all right.
What am I trying to do here?
The John Peel sessions are good.
Oh yeah, I've got this. I think I've got this on here. I can't remember which ones I clipped.
They're better than the records.
Yeah, you get that production though, don't you?
Really nice sound. This is it, John Peel. March 96. Yeah, I definitely heard that first track. Never Had It So Bad before somewhere. And that Paul McCartney one as well. But let's have a gander.
Yeah, great. Sounds great. That I love that song.
Oh, that's a really nice indie pop song. I'll play two more, and then we'll have a chat about these three tracks, and generally about Laugh. So we had a listen there to Never Had It So Bad, and Time to Lose It, and Sensation Number One, all by indie pop Jangle Masters Laugh. Time, and that's a wild progression from that C86 Jangle Pop to like early Manchester stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, Laugh was me, Marty Mittler literally knocked on my door one day. I was doing nothing. I left that covers band and heard that I was a drummer. I never met him, but he found out where I lived and that, and he knocked on the door and said, "Do you want to be in a band?" And I was like, he said, "Oh yeah, I've got this guy Tim Goodgin, and we're starting this band." And they had this guy. They said he was going to good singer and stuff like that. So I wasn't doing anything, so I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll have a go at it then." So we kind of started off practicing in the cellar here, where I am now, actually, right underneath here in the cellar. And my gran lived here then. and so she used to let me use the cellar to practice with bands and stuff. And we just started, just like originally the guitarist was a guy called Tim Gudgeon, who's from the Wirral, and he was like an artist and stuff. And he started. He was part of the first lineup of F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T, but then he later on he decided he had to get a career and went off being a graphic designer. So then he had to get a new guitarist. We got a lad called Ian Bendelow in.
Nice,
we just progressed really. But we moved to Manchester, started rehearsing in the Boardwalk, and that's where there was like ACR and the Mondays, Railway Children, Swing Out Sister,
Wigan band, Railway Children.
Right, on Factory.
They rehearsed that. Everyone was rehearsing in the Boardwalk. They had about eight or nine rooms, and we used to practice down there a lot. And we used to gig that. We used to play there as well on some occasions. We got. We used to support the Bodines quite a lot. The Bodines, you remember them?
You played with them for a while, didn't you? After around that time,
I ended up. I did one single on the Play Hard label, Dave Aslam's label.
Right, yeah.
We did a record called Decide.
Yeah, Craig Gannon was involved at some point as well. I think he played with the Smiths as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Before Bandy, we had Craig in for a short time. But the Smiths nicked him, yeah. Mm-hmm. He'd left us. He was in Aztec Camera, Craig, before that. We got him in, but kind of knew that he wasn't going to stay because he's very professional and very sort of he had his own mindset on what he wanted to do and stuff. He didn't used to turn up to practice. He didn't used to think he needed to practice. So we sort of like thought, we're not. I don't think he's going to stick around. He did that second John Peel session though, which sounds great. But then we found out just on a phone call that the Smiths had nicked him.
Fair enough.
He did that Queen is Dead tour.
If you're going to trade for somebody, you might as well go. That's what go for someone like that.
Yeah.
So,
What
happened with that change then? I think I saw an interview with Martin. It was on YouTube, some clip where I think people were asking about the change because Manchester had started coming on in that indie dance scene, and there's definitely a big switch.
I reckon Time to Lose. It was probably, if not the first, one of the first indie dance records with that sort of hip hop beat. When we recorded the single in Strawberry Studios, we had a cassette of a hip hop album, and before the Akai sampler even came out, there was a little thing called an AMS that could sample for 3 seconds.
Right.
And we got if you listen to the record, you'll hear the snare drum and the bass drum is triggering a hip hop snare and a hip hop, even though it's a live drum kit, live play. Yeah. But we got a mix. We mixed in with a bit of a hip hop sound on the bass drum and the snare drum. What Chris Nagel did, and that beat and everything, the dum ka dum ka. How many records did that come on? Charlatans used it several times. Yeah. Stone Roses. When that single was out, we were in the Hacienda actually one night. Me and Martin writing the Gay Traitor, and Ian Brown fucking run upstairs come up to us and goes, "Oh, I love your new single, man," and all this to Martin, and we knew it was a different record. It was not the jingly jangly usual indie, it was the beginning of something else. The Mondays, they kind of they started a different groove as well. With that first album, the Squirrel and G-Man album. Yeah. Listen to that. It's a fucking great album, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I'm bummed as well. It's just like the way
I love that album.
The people who got to produce them as well, you kind of that's good,
Yeah, they got John Cale and Martin Hanna, and it's they went, and then Paul Oakenfold. But great. That change was coming as much from hip hop as maybe the house and stuff that was going in the clubs as well.
Because obviously Hacienda was open. We played there. We supported the Violent Femmes there. That was a good gig.
Yeah.
And we supported the Pale Fountains a few times as well.
It's that early Peel session. I mean, that's the closest to Pale Fountains and Mick Head's stuff and Shaq. Great.
Yeah. It was basically Martin Mittler, really. That there was a guy called Tony Martin who used to be the lighting man at Hacienda, and he was really into computers. And Martin he was mates with him, and so Tony Martin bought a new computer and he sold Martin their old one. And it was literally, that's where we started using computers, because it was like a cassette loaded thing. I can't, CX something, CX5 or something it was called. And that was when we started using the technology as well as the live band. And that was like, we didn't have any money or anything. Yeah. Sometimes it used to crash and stuff. But so we used to do like one track that didn't have any computer on it while the cassette was loading the next song. And then we do a computer one, then do a live one, then a computer one.
Nice.
It's like, and we used to have to gaffer tape it to a table so it didn't crash.
was it steam powered or was it a clockwork one?
So I don't know. It was fucking really basic. But we had a New Order's drum machine at the Oberheim.
Right.
Somehow we got hold of that, and it had a sticker on the bottom of it. Peter Hook. He said Peter. I think Peter Hook owned it.
Scratched out.
And fucking. That was like a sticker. Right? It said Peter Hook on the bottom of it. It was the one that they wrote Blue Monday on.
Right. Nice.
We had that, and that was fucking funny as well, because that used to crash as well. So like sometimes we'd have it programmed, all the percussion bits that I'd play along with and stuff, and then like get to a gig and it'd fucking crash on you. So in between, from the sound check to the gig, we'd have to reprogram the fucking drum machine all over again. Spent about fucking 2 hours programming everything before we had to go on stage.
There was stories in New Order gigs where like you nearly ended up in a riot because like everything had crashed. Yeah. It happened loads of times.
Yeah. It was a great sounding drum machine, obviously, that famous hi-hat sound, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Sound, you know, fucking brilliant. But, yeah, Matt immediately lent it to Coyley, who ended up sort of co-producing that Oasis first album.
Oh, in Coyley.
Yeah, it's probably still good.
So that kind of leads us nicely into, I guess, what the band became, which was Interstellar, right? So how did Laugh turn into Interstellar, or would you class them as two different bands? Or?
Oh, totally two different bands. We'd split up. Laugh had split up. We'd give up. We all we just got sick of getting nowhere, and like timing was wrong really, because then we split up and just sort of got fucking sick of not getting anywhere. Sort of drifted apart really. Martin Mittler went and did Hypnoto with Tony Martin, that guy I was talking about before. Yeah. It was a bit of a house project, and I ended up in the Bodines, then, and then I was going out with Stella, and she was like, well, why don't you do a group with me? Because I want to do some singing. And I was like, well, all right, well, we'll try something then. And we had this guy called Kurt Rogers who lived in the flat next door. He was a bit of a garage sort of guy. Me and him started it. We did Dreams from Paradise with a drum loop. He come and recorded a drum loop, me playing the drums. And then we built that track up. And then it was like really, it picked up dead quick. People just started talking about it, and we did a few PAs and stuff like that. And Martin Mittler phoned us up and heard about it. He said, can I come and join the group? I said, yeah, okay then. And then nice. Martin Wright joined the group as well. And yeah, like we all come back together with a different singer, with Stella singing, and kind of just like got a deal really quick. And
And which label was it that you were signed to?
And we got signed by MCA Records on the first album. Yeah. We only had like five demo tracks we had.
Do you have loads of people sniffing around after you? Like, you know, like loads of interest from different companies?
That Silver Toad, they wanted to sign us. They were the ones that the Roses were on.
Didn't end up well, did it, really?
No, they wanted to sign us, but they wanted the publishing as well. And then we had this guy that Paul Redman, who kept turning up at all these PAs we were doing. And we were in London, and we'd been to Silvertone, and they wanted to sign us. And then I said, oh, let's go and see that Paul Redman guy at MCA. So we went there and like literally offered us a deal straight away. Like it was mad. I was in shock, to be honest.
Perfect timing, right? In 91.
1990.
Height of all that scene. And I remember at that time, Interstellar, especially like Stella, all those other big bands, it all just had lads, right? It was all Roses and Spirals and all that. So I think that was I'm going to play a little bit, if you don't mind, I just chose one track from each of the 3 records you did. These were just my favorites. There's lots of nice stuff on there, but I just chose one I liked from each record. Very nice. So we had People off your first record, I Love the Smell of New Grass, and Song for Sid. What's your memories of the Interstellar time?
Well, crazy it was. It was quite a fast-moving time. It was very surprising to get a record deal by a major label. Never thought dreamt to ever get into something like that. We was put in a dead smart studio with Craig Leon, the producer on the first album. He'd done like Blondie in that.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, but we fell out with him though, unfortunately. Didn't sort of agree on his production techniques. He was good enough, and so we sacked him, and we went back to Strawberry and used Chris Nagel, finished the album, recorded most of it again, and then we was happy with the first album. I love that first album. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah,
nice.
Was Chris Nagel like to work with? Because he's quite experienced, isn't he? Is it? I mean, going back to, was it Unknown Pleasures? He sort of did some engineering.
He was mine on its engineer, wasn't he? Yeah, he was a fucking brilliant guy. He did the Time to Lose It single as well. He recorded that for us, so I had a good relationship with him. So I love that first album. I've got great fond memories of it. It made itself, that album. We were under pressure, obviously, because we got signed and stuff, and there's a lot of money around and stuff at that point in time, and I felt under pressure to come up with something good. Commercial success, it wasn't really a big thing for us lot. Even though the record company wanted that, we still made the record that we wanted to make. Second album was took a long time to make. That was that album. I think that's good as well. I think that come out really well. Considering we got drops off MCA Records, but it didn't matter. When we signed Planet 3 Records. Dave Ambrose, lovely guy. He used to play bass in Crazy World of Arthur Brown. I don't know if you know him. He signed Duran Duran. He was an A&R man. He was a good bloke. Let us make the record we wanted to make, and took loads of time over everything. He was fussy about mixes and stuff, and made sure that he really it was up to standard for him as well as us lot. And that, I think that was a good album. Third album, difficult album. Did it with that guy, Candy Flip bloke.
All right.
I got his name now. Rick Peake, I think. So I think that's his name. Did it in the studio in Nottingham, and we was really skint at that time. Totally brassy. We got some food delivered at the studio. We stayed in this crap B&B. Fucking freezing. The weather was shit. We had no money, but we managed to make the record. And that was the last album. I find it hard to listen to that album myself because it was just a shit period of shitness, and we were all a bit low. It was a very hard to make that third one, but there is some good tracks on it. Some of the sampling that I did on it, I like. I got really into sampling on the second and third album quite a lot.
You're known for drumming, right? But how much other stuff did you put on? Did you do any kind of keyboards and stuff and sampling, Well, the first album started off with Dreams of Paradise started off with a drum loop of my drumming. But then on the second album, I did a lot of sampling. If you listen to that track, The Past and stuff, there's a lot of samples on there. Yeah.
I wouldn't like to tell you what the samples are because I don't want to get done. Yeah. Obviously, like that track "People" on the first album. There's a very famous sample on there. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
It's pretty obvious, to be honest. You're basically singing. You're basically singing the same words in the same melody. It's not as sneaky as you think.
Yeah. That track, The Past, we sampled the Gladys Knight. But we had to get a session singer in because she didn't like the fact that I'd slowed her voice down on the sample, so she sounded like a bloke. So we had to like get a session singer in to sing it. She didn't let us use a sample.
I know Tricky did a remix as well at that time, and I see a bit of that influence creeping in towards the bits in that third album.
I got right into all the trip hop and stuff like that. I've always been a massive reggae fan as well, you know, like big reggae fan since I was 17, 18, you know, Augustus Pablo, the likes of I
really love like the reggae melodica stuff, but I love playing melodica myself.
So you're going to love what's coming next then, because we've got moving on to Bad Man Wagon, if you're all right with that, Spin.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Was it in between that you Black Grape were on the scenes?
Well, yeah, I mean, we did that collaboration with the track Can You Fly Like You Mean It?
Oh yeah,
which was the collaboration with Sean Ryder, which was the B-side of the Drifter single on the second album.
Right. There's an NME thing where I think Stella and Sean were.
Yeah, because we went round to his house in Didsbury. He was living in Didsbury at the time, and gave him the track of Can You Fly Like You Mean It? It's just an instrumental. Said, do you want to sing on it? Because the Mondays weren't doing anything at that time. He split up. So yeah, he come down the studio and he sang on that. We paid him for doing it, 400 quid. And then he said, can you write a couple of tunes for us? So we went into our practice room. You had like a stock computer and all that set up. And we did the Reverend Black Grape song in one afternoon. Sean and Kermit, they didn't turn up. They were late because Kermit was in court for something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, eventually they turned up, and we just mashed the track down. Me, Bendy, and Marty Mittler, and he'd come in. They went in this little room, and he had a bottle of Black Grape juice with him. 20 minutes, half an hour later, him and Kermit comes out, and then they spouted all them lyrics all over the track that we'd already written, and just fucking amazing because Kermit was in a suit, black suit with a black tie, a white shirt on. Yeah, just like started off that thing. Can I get a witness and everything? I was like, fucking hell, it's fucking amazing. I've got the demo downstairs somewhere in a box in my mum's cellar, you know. But and then we did another track. It's called Lob On as well. I think I've got that somewhere. That they didn't put that out. That one. It was like in my black book. I've got no cheese this weekday or something. It's a pretty good track actually.
Yeah,
I'll have to try and fish it out. You know.
He came out and he'd been totally gone like for like a few years, and then that Black Grape just exploded. That is a top notch tune, Reverend Black Grape.
Yeah, I just remember getting in my car and fucking heard it on the radio. Because the demo was that good that Gary Curtis, who signed him from America, he wanted to put the demo out. Like Sean was saying, like the fucking demo's that good. They want to put it out. They literally copied the demo anyway. It's what you hear on that record is fucking so close to the demo. That's where we ended up in a bloody court case over it all. It's we did an out-of-court settlement in the end.
But around that same time, is that when you started working with Cressa, Bad Man Wagon?
Yeah, I was kind of doing that from home, really. That was like, because I was mates with Cressa, and they used to all knock around in Chorlton, boozing and that. Yeah. And he used to come to like Interstellar gigs and stuff, and we all had the same mates and that. A bit of a clan from Chorlton who used to fucking get pissed and sniff coke and smoke weed, and it was all like
trouble.
Fucking bit fucking messy at the time. So we started off because I was into the reggae and stuff. Cressa was like, "Do you want to do something? Let's all do something," So like that's how I said, "All right, well." I started doing some sampling and did some dub reggae, really.
Let's have a gander at some Bad Man Wagon.
me wipe out the wicked and clean. Pass me the laser beam.
Learn about.
Yeah. Really nice sounds on there. So that most of
Cheers.
so what do we have there? Do you love reggae music? And chronic sonic hydrophonic tonic for the masses and Silverbird.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us a bit about Bad Man Wagon.
Yeah, I did that at home, quite a lot of it. But the Do You Love Reggae Music track, obviously, is a Horace Andy sample. We did that in the studio. Rob Gretton put that out, and Chronic Sonic. We had two 10-inch white labels. They were what Rob put out. Rob Gretton was working on doing an album. Was working up to that, but unfortunately he passed away, and everything came to a standstill. But then there was we just thought, oh, well, we'll carry on, make the album anyway, because I was doing it from home. I was pretty good at producing by then. Knew what I was doing myself, so pretty much did it all at home and stuff. We had interest from Turtleneck Records, the Damien Hirst, and the bass player from Blur, wasn't it? That album where they put that Vindaloo track went out on that, was it, didn't it?
Right.
Yeah, they was interested, but I think I asked them for too much money, so that went a bit quiet. But we just did it ourselves, and we made some CDs, like 500 CDs, but then we didn't really fucking do anything with them. And they don't even work anyway. But then something happened to them. They're all. I've still got them in boxes. They don't play, digitally rubbish.
Right.
But the one CD that I gave to a friend of mine, she gave it me back. So then during lockdown, I gave it to my publisher in Holland, and she loved it. So that's why it's on Spotify now, because they put it out.
I enjoyed it, and I'd heard, because I was a big Roses fan, and I knew Crescent was doing. I think I'd heard that Do You Like Reggae Music single when it first came out. You supported the Roses at Wembley, right? At Wembley Arena.
Yeah, the Manics were on as well. Yeah, that was
that like?
Frightening. It's scary. Yeah, but we supported the Seahorses as well on a few gigs.
Right.
That was pretty good. We fucking blew them off in Bristol. A few people came up to us going, "Fucking hell, man, you're better than the Seahorses by a mile," and all that.
Well, I imagine in Bristol that kind of stuff will go down a lot better than the jangly 70s night of the Seahorses.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We did a few gigs in Scotland as well. There's quite a few people up there liked it, the Bad Man Wagon. It was a bit mad, though, the Bad Man Wagon.
Yeah,
and Damien Hirst and all that lot. Sticking his fingers up his ass and shit like that. It's fucking weird, man.
It sounds like a bit of a wild mix you had going on at that point. So then, like, how did that? A couple of years later, I guess you worked with Damon Gough a bit, Badly Drawn Boy, and then you ended up. What led you to the Fall and via Badly Drawn Boy?
Well, it was our manager, Caroline, Stella manager. She got us the job because she met that Andy Votel, that Twisted Nerve label and stuff.
Great label.
And so, so she just rang me up and said, Badly Drawn Boy wants to know if you want to do some drumming for him in the studio tomorrow in Preston, a place called West Orange, where Corner Shop used to record. I'll do it. So I did that EP, the Came From The Ground EP. Did that in a couple of days, which I really love that. I think that come out dead good, and Andy did a remix of it as well, which is nice. He used a lot of the drumming.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good. But then regarding joining the Fall, that was a phone call, really, from a guy, Ed Blaney, who was managing the Fall at the time. I'd recorded some tracks for him, a couple of tracks of his, playing drums and stuff. And he got the job managing the Fall, and he rang me up and said, "Do you want to join the Fall?" So I said, "Yeah, all right then."
Right. So that was about November of 2000.
It was they had that album,
The Unutterable, right?
Like
and Ben had just played a few tracks on that, right?
Yeah, Ben wasn't in the band then. It was that Neville Wilding.
Yeah.
and another guy from London on bass. Can't remember his name now. Adam, that was it. Yeah. So then he sent us a CD. So I practiced to that CD downstairs here where I am now in the cellar. Learned most of that album, and then they had the gig at first gig. No, not even a practice. Rock City, Nottingham. Fucking hell.
What was that like?
I was in the fucking mental. I got picked up in a Salford Van Ayer coach. Went to Mark's house. He comes out of his house and he just got in the minibus and never met him before. He goes, I believe you're a bit of a psychedelic drummer. I was like, oh, right, I'm up. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, it's quite intimidating when you don't know it. So I was fucking pretty nervous, I've got to say. Anyway, we gets to the gig and I was like, he wrote this set list out, fucking loads of songs. I didn't even fucking have a clue what they were. Didn't know any of it, honestly. I was like, what the fuck is this set list? Like, I thought we were doing this album. He's like, yeah, well, we're going to do all these. That's it. What the fuck do I do? I don't even know him. He's like, they just have to fucking make up, won't you? Like that. And fucking literally, he was in the dressing room. Fucking hell's going on here? So like, just fucking for no fucking reason. I don't fucking know him. I got to fucking play drums for him. Gets on stage. Fuck knows. I couldn't even tell you. All I remember was pulled all the fucking drum kit apart. I'd fucking hardly any drums left to play. Fucking half the drum kit on the fucking floor. Honestly. That was the beginning of the tour. Anyway, just fucking kept going and worked my way through things and learnt it. And as we were touring, and the tour went on for months and months. We went all over Europe and Scandinavia and Germany. And by the end, it was shit hot. After we'd done the British tour, we were on fire then. And fucking, it was good. Fucking loved it. Got fucking fit as fuck playing for him, like, an hour and a half of mental drumming every night. I was fucking lost about fucking 2 stone in weight. Yeah, it's like, brilliant.
It would have been about 10 months after that you went in and recorded Are You Are Missing Winner. Yeah, can we have a listen to a couple of tracks from Missing Winner? Yeah. And then I want to ask you a few. Alrighty.
He wants to go to the show. He is a bastardo. Spit is a bastardo.
Now, I did check beforehand that you're okay with me playing that, Spence. So, what we
Yeah.
what we had
Funny,
there
innit?
is Crop Dust, Ibis Afro
Yeah.
Man. I played a bit of Jim's The Fall, and then that was Reprise Jane, Prof Mick, A Bastardo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anything about Crop Dust? It's such a unique song. It's fantastic, and you got, I think, writing credit on it. Is that your sample there?
Yeah, you know the sample, don't you?
It's Trog's song, right?
Yeah, but like I didn't tell Mark that, and then he comes up and calls it fucking crop dust. That's pretty funny though, isn't it? Because is it Reg Fresley? Is that his name?
Yeah.
He's into crop circles.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
So like Mark, that's like Mark's smarter than you think. You see, like because I put that backing track together on the sampler, and then we all played over it. It was like sort of my idea in a way, yeah. But yeah, brilliant. I love that. I love that.
Wish they'd done more like this that was based on samples, because as far as I know, it's the only one.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Did it kind of grow organically, or did you kind of like have a preconceived idea of what it would be as a final product?
Well, I just had that loop, really. It's I just sing in it, the track. Because we were writing the album, and it was pretty much that on that album we had my ex-classmates' kids, what we'd already recorded in Ed's living room on my studio. I recorded that. Recorded in Ed's house, who's in Salford. Yeah, and that was done in one evening. When Mark had his broken leg, he fell down a slope in a rockabilly festival somewhere in Yarmouth or something. So he had his broken leg and sang it in the kitchen. The drums were set up in the living room when that was recorded. And then the rest of the album was recorded in this half-built studio in Salford, what this guy had. Yeah, it was like a building site. But basically, the recording stuff worked, but skin at the time.
Ben he said there was rats running around. There was a weightlifter's gym above us, and halfway through a tape, you'd hear boom, someone had dropped some barbells on the floor, and you had to do the take again. I took it with a bit of a pinch of salt, but was that more or less accurate?
Yeah, it was in like a little mini industrial estate sort of thing in Salford. And there's the pub. There was a pub, something like the old Pint Pot or something like that across the road, and yeah, there was fucking rats everywhere. We used to go over there for a pint, and he's right, Ben was right. All these rats were running around. Mark had to borrow money off to pay us a bit of money while we were doing that album because he was getting done really cheap.
Were you on a wage at that point, or were you getting paid by the gig? Or
it depended really. I'd say really you just getting by. You were just doing it for the love of doing it for any other reason. That album was done very cheaply. A lot of it was written in the studio. It's
been criticised for the sound at times, but now it's been remastered. It sounds pretty good, and I always have a soft spot for the album, even though it's definitely very bitty. It's the curve of the Fall coming back, because after Steve and Craig and Bricks and all and Cal and all that had left and Psy around 98 or whatever, 97, 98, all that shit went down. Some good albums in that interim, but this was the swing back up. I mean, and then once they hit Country on the Click and especially Heads Roll, that was the upswings.
Mark, he didn't really have a girlfriend, and he obviously he was trying to sort of get a band together. He just sacked that Adam Neville. He got rid of him and got Ben in. I remember we were rehearsing in Sankey Soap, and Ben turned up. That Neville turned round to me because I'd only just joined him then, really, and he said he only had got 2 years in the Fall. He said, I think my time's up, and literally it was. He fucking. Mark turned up. It was literally then it was left just me and Ben and Mark, and then they got Jim in because Jim was a neighbour of Ed's, lived next door, but 2 up the road.
You didn't know Jim and Ben before that, or did?
No, I'd not met. Literally, the first time I saw Ben was when he turned up that day in a duffel coat, and Ben got on guitar, and then Ben told me that he'd played on Dr. Buck's Letter on that album, and I was like, oh right, that's how that lineup sort of came about, really.
That's a good lineup. So, but you didn't last long. You only did about a year, that first stint. What went on there, or?
Fucking hell, we was in America, weren't we? We did a load of gigs in America, and we was in New York, and we'd been in Seattle before that. Played at the Crocodile Club. That was good.
I went there once. That was it owned by the lad out of REM?
Pete Buck, is it?
Pete Buck, yeah. Mike Mills and Pete Buck, yeah. That's a cool club, yeah.
Yeah, we played there. It was great. Fucking packed out that. So we spent about 5 days there, and during that time, sort of kind of like started niggling at each other, and I was getting pretty annoyed. I was getting sick of it, like when we got to New York to get the flight back to England, we all got really pissed in this Italian sort of mafia kind of bar with sawdust on the floor in the afternoon, and just ended up arguing. Me and Jim got off and we went somewhere else. And when we got back to the hotel, it was like during that Twin Towers, but they're still burning, it was still on fire. The fucking New York was all full of dust and smoke and everything. And all the shops had the Fall in the window because it was like autumn time. It was mad. It was pretty weird. Every single shop's had the Fall in the window. It was crazy. We went back to this hotel and just ended up having a scrap. Anyway, we got off dead early and went to the airport. Got on the plane and we was just thought, this is chaos. I got home anyway. So yeah, I got fired. Then they got in Dave Milner.
Yeah,
and that was it, wasn't it?
It was it. Blimey, I didn't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was it was like chaos, honestly.
So you just went back to work and got on with stuff for a bit while they did that next record.
Went home. Then during that time, split up with Stella and just fucking had a shit time. Because obviously I miss being in the Fall, but it just come to a head really with. And then I'd split up with her, and then they got. Then they did the Country on the Click album, which I think it's a great album.
Yeah, very good album. Yeah, and Eleni was on the scene at that point. So was Eleni not about when you?
Well, what happened was, Eleanor's kind of like started coming to some of the gigs, and was kind of like, and that's when Julia got booted out.
All right, yeah.
But that was before when we did that tour. Eleanor wasn't around really.
Yeah.
She was sort of like seeing Mark a bit. But then during that Country on the Click, I think they proper started going out with each other, and that's when she sort of joined the band and that. And then when I got asked back, she was in the Fall lineup, and I thought she was good Fall member. Actually, really had lots of respect for Eleanor. She lovely.
Yeah, she seemed positive influence on Mark as well at that time. From an outsider's perspective, I don't know what.
She looked great.
Yeah, we'll get onto a bit of that when we talk about Heads Roll in a minute. But I want to dig into a track that we, like I was saying earlier, none of us had really heard before this competition, like before we started looking at stuff. And it's become a big favourite, Birtwistle's Girl in Shop. There's a story out there of you meeting Mark in the pub and going back to the studio, but it's all a bit shrouded in mystery. I'm not one to bust the myths, but I'd be really interested to know how that song came about. And I'll play a little bit of it later.
There's like 3 tracks what I did at home. Now, The Girl in Shop is the wrong title for that song. That the one the track you're talking about was actually called track 31.
Right.
Another track called Girl in Shop. So Mark wrongly titled it. And there's another track as well. I've got 3 tracks at home. One is Girl in Shop. That one's track 31, and the other one is called Air Condition, and that you haven't heard. So what I did was, I wasn't in the Fall, but I did some drums, and the drums for that track I did in a barn, what my auntie had, this farm, and I set up the drums in this barn and just bashed them drums down. And then there was a guy called Sparky from Charlton who played guitar on it, and I recorded that on my studio. And I wasn't in the Fall, but I was still friends with Mark, so I rang him up. Anyway, he come round to my house and he recorded the vocals on the 3 tracks at my house after we'd been in the pub, as usual, like fucking loads of beers. And then we recorded. And so that was like me and him. It wasn't the Fall, it was me and him and a guy called Sparky on guitar.
Right.
So yeah.
It's a really cool sound.
Yeah.
Those drums sound great. It's like I liken it to like the Beastie Boys or Money Mark stuff. But let's have a bit of a listen.
Okay.
Really nice production on it.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Track 31 is mentioned here, so he did sort of know.
Yeah.
That keyboard sound is a guitar.
No, that's
and drums. It's a
that's a synthesizer. Yeah, that's one of the keyboards that I had at the time. I think it's a Juno 106.
Right.
And Sparky played that synth as well. That's literally just me and Sparky, the music, and Mark on the vocals. Yeah, is that the one that went on the B-side of the Christmas single?
Yeah, they put "We Wish You a Protein Christmas." Yeah, it was.
That's it. Because I remember Mark phoned us up, and I'd given him a copy of that, and he said he rang us up one day. He said, "I'm putting a track out for Christmas. Is it all right if I use that track as a B-side because I really like it?" I said, "Yeah, fine, do it." So then I didn't hear from him for about another year, but yeah, that's how that happened. Yeah.
So then what happened in terms of you coming back? Because it's mentioned briefly in that book, The Fall, and he said he left a year or two back having a hard time. When I rang him up, he just packed his drum kit away for good that morning. He wasn't in a good state. I said, "I'm not doing this for therapy. I need you now." Is there any truth to any of that?
What did he say?
So have you seen that? You heard that book called The Fallen, about ex-members of the Fall, and it's really weird because it's written it was written as you left, and I think you and Jim are the only two members like not mentioned, even though it's like literally about the other two members of the Fall who just left at the time. But the quote is fans thought that Spenser had been lost to the mists of time or wherever it is that Fall drummers go, but now he's back in the band. He left a year or two back having a hard time with his wife or something. When I rang him, he just packed his drum kit away for good. He wasn't in a good state. I said, "I'm not doing this for therapy. I need you now."
Right. And what? That's mad, that. It's pretty true, really, because I remember I was here at the B&B. I was going through a divorce, little, I had a house to sell and stuff. And he rang the guest house here and said, "Spen, do you want to come back in the fall?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know, Mark." I said, "I'm not really sure at the moment." I said, "I've got too much going on, I said, "I don't know if I could do it, mate." And he goes, "Oh, come on, it'll be the best thing you can do." But I said, "Give me half an hour to think about it." So I put the phone down and then spoke to my mum. Said, "What do you think? Going in the fall now when I'm going through all this stress?" And my mum says, "Well, you might as well." So I rang him back and said, "All right, Mark, I'll come back then, as long as you pay me."
Yeah, as long as you behave yourself.
And he said, "Yeah, I need that kick behind me again." So I said, "All right, let's do it then." I went back in and I had to go to this Eccles, to this rehearsal room, and I thought, "Oh, it's going to kick off again." But it was all right, actually. There was no hard feelings. Like, we both had mutual respect for each other and just got on with it. Yeah, I was back in the fall again. And it did do me a lot of good because it stopped me thinking about all the rubbish. It gave me something to do, because I was pretty lost. Didn't really know what to do with myself. So it was a good thing.
Yeah, I imagine it keeps you busy, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was positive. We went to Russia. We did some couple of gigs there, and then sort of after that, it was Eleanor really who sort of used to sort of manage the group along with Alan Wise. As things were good. We did the Jules Holland show.
So yeah, you did Jules Holland, and then I guess you started cracking on with Recording Heads Roll. How did that go, and how was that different from what you'd experienced a couple of years back with Missing Winner?
Well, yeah, because they'd done the Country on the Click album, and that was a good album, and that playing that was fun. So it was kind of like, and Eleanor was on keyboards, and the band seemed to be in a good place, like going in a good direction. So I remember saying to Mark, "Why don't you do some TV and stuff like that? You never do any TV." And I think he must have listened to me, because literally a couple of months later, he kind of ended up doing that Jules Holland. Yeah, that was really good to do that. But recording the Heads Roll album was great. Went to America 9 days. On the way there, Mark kicked off at the airport in London. So we got a flight from Manchester to London. And then when we got to London, there was the connection to the flight was the flight going to New York was going to take off without us. We had to sort of run down some staircase thing. Mark snatched this clipboard off this guy, airport guy, with a luminous jacket on, and this guy immediately got on his radio, like to report him. So Mark literally ran off with Eleanor and said, "You lot get on the plane. I better go." And he just went off, ran off into the crowds, and then disappeared. Yeah, gonna get in trouble,
You get in trouble for that kind of stuff. They take it seriously. Let's have a listen.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Let's have a listen to a few tracks off Heads Roll era, if you don't mind.
Is evil. Welcome. Living legend. Always in work in progress. I could have had a life, could have had a wife, he said. But there's always someone around me, not her. You wanna
Yeah, well, I'd list of Blindness, off Heads Roll, and You Wanna, and then I played Higgledy, the Monks cover, which I think you were still around for that, right? So
Blindness. When I was in the Fall the first time, was in Dresden in Germany. And me and Mark went. He used to get me to go out with him for a pint quite a lot. Sometimes, even when I didn't want to, I'd still go, like when I should have been resting, But so we was walking around Dresden, and he started going on about this blind man thing. It's like this poster. I've seen this poster, this blind man, and all this, and he was sort of reciting this thing to us. And that was when I was in the Fall the time before, and then when I was in this studio in Warrington doing that interim album thing, we just. We had an idea of doing something that was pretty heavy. Like I was talking to Steve Trafford about it, and was like, "Oh, let's fucking do something really heavy, like something that's a bit different, like a bit heavy." So we went back in the studio because we was sat in my car listening to some heavy dub and shit. I had this album, this really heavy electronic dub album. Anyway, so we went in the studio and we just pretty much smashed that down. And I'd remembered that thing when he was going on about this blind man thing. And so, I just don't know what came out of my head, but I sort of said, call this song Blind. I rang it, Mark, if you're coming down to the studio. And I was just remembering that time when you was going on about that blind man when we was in Germany. And I said, so I've called this track Blind Man. And I said, can you remember them words that time that you were talking about? Anyway, he went to the studio and we'd gone home. And then he literally put those lyrics on the track, because we'd already recorded the track, and that's how that one came about.
Yeah. A lot of people have said, as it sounds a bit like Witness the Fitness, the Roots Maneuver song. Is that?
There is a similarity, I suppose.
Yeah. They're quite different, but I think a lot of people kind of have mashed them up.
Must have been a lot of fun to play that. But do you know, when you're saying you wanted to get into more heavy stuff, what kind of stuff was influencing you at the time? What were you listening to that made you think, right, come on, let's go for something mad?
Well, yeah, like just really heavy electronic dub, to be honest. I've got this album, I can't remember what it's called now, but I had that on in the car and that. And I don't deny that we were listening to Roots Manoeuvre a bit as well. Can't say we didn't. don't tell anyone.
I won't. Don't worry. What about so you wanna is just a brutal drum track. Like I just asked some people like favorite fall drum tracks, and that got quite a few mentions.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you remember about that one?
That was the last track. That, and what happened there was Ding. You know Ding.
Yeah.
Ding Archer. Simon Ding Archer. He was in on the session for that album, but like he'd been in the Fall and he went off with PJ Harvey, didn't he?
Yep.
So Mark wouldn't let him play on anything. Right, but he took him to America.
Yeah.
So he sat in the mixing room with the engineer all the way through the album, and just at the end, we started jamming that out. And Steve wanted to play guitar for a change, so Ding got on the bass, and we had Ben and Steve on guitars, and we just fucking smashed it out. It was like the last track we did on that session, and we just kind of wrote it there and then on the spot, really.
Yeah, very nice. Very Stooges.
Yeah, a bit Stooges. Yeah, that's what I think about it as well. Yeah.
Steve on bass, great, but he did some really nice guitar stuff as well. I almost played Midnight in Aspen because I think that's what.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's lovely. That one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Steve Trafford's riff. That.
Yeah.
Bit fucking Midnight Cowboy thing, isn't it? Like, it's pretty good.
Yeah. It's very nice, and Mark, it's one of Mark's most beautiful vocals as well. It's It's Heads Roll, kind of proper return to form. Got a soft spot for all the stuff all the way through that kind of mucky period for the previous 5 years. But Heads Roll, like a really solid.
Yeah, I like Assume.
Yeah,
Assume you are a hume. That's dead funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And What About Us? That's a good track as well.
Yeah,
that was really funny because Eleanor literally comes in the studio, right? And like we used to laugh, but she'd set up that synthesizer and she goes, "Oh yeah, Mark says you've got to play to this," and it's like da 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 da. So we all just played to that. She said, like Mark said, you have to play to this.
Brilliant. So in terms of your drumming, so we had a lad on a few weeks ago who's also called Spenser, and he's a drummer, and he was saying a lot of nice things about your drumming. He's saying he classes you as technically very, grip. You've got the standard grip and a lot of power.
I have the orthodox grip. It's like the jazz drummer style.
Yeah, but definitely you've got a lot of respect from people for having that power and that technicality. You were taking over from other drummers, and then did you feel you had to do a lot of changing of your sound, or did it like when you first came in for Are You Are Missing Winner? And obviously live you were probably playing stuff. I think Tom Head was on there before you, and then you had Dave come in between, and then you came back.
Into another drummer's style, innit? But you're playing somebody else's material.
But I always interpret. I have a sort of feel about what I put into it. It almost sometimes you can put a bit more arrangement in with the way you play the drums as to what maybe other people have done previously. So you can turn something that is somebody else's, say, track or drumming, then you can make it your own by adding a bit more to it or even less to it if need be. But the way I drum it, I do try and sort of think about having a kind of arrangement to what I play. Even though it might sound repetitive, you'll probably notice that I'll be moving around quite a bit. I'll be moving onto the ride cymbal times, and then sometimes I'll go onto the floor tom and then back onto the ride, and then on the hi-hats, playing the hi-hats heavy. You move around the kit, even though you might be playing this kind of the same thing, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, Alistair knows. He's dabbled with the drums in his time. So you can tell us as much or as little as you like about this next part, Spen, but we've got that Monks cover, which seems to have been pretty much the only thing that happened in 2006 recording-wise. Your last gig, 2006 in Leicester before that ill-fated American tour. What went down? What was your remembrance of that last little bit of your time in the Fall?
Well, we did about a week, but what happened was I think Mark was getting on very angry and started telling us what to do, who's sharing rooms with who, when usually me and Steve used to share a room because we used to go to bed early and we didn't smoke. The others were smokers and like stayed up late and stuff like that. So all of a sudden he's like telling me that I had to share a room with this guy called Safi, this video DJ bloke from Berlin. I was like, oh, this is shit. This is like, and Steve was getting pissed off as well because and then we was in this Winnebago and was sort of traveling across the desert, and Mark was like telling everyone where to sit and like saying, no, don't sit there, sit up there, fucking move up there and all this, like treating everyone like shit. Started throwing banana at fucking Ben, and we got to this place. Can't fucking remember where it happened, but we was it was like some fucking hotel. It was a bit 50s inside, like pretty nice place, and was using the Winnebago as a sort of dressing room. And Mark comes on and he starts kicking off like at me for no reason. Next thing, he picks up this fucking corkscrew and he's like threatening to like stab me in the head. And this is before we went on. I was like, what's going on here? This is like really out of order. Like we just had a really bad journey with him, and he's like, and then now he's threatening. Like this is not on this. So when we got back to the hotel after the gig was pretty shit because we was all in a really bad mood. Anyway, we went back to the hotel and everyone was in one of the hotel rooms and everyone said, we've had enough of this. The tour manager said, I'm getting off anyway. He said, I'm going to take this Winnebago and I'm getting off. I've had enough of this. And everyone else was like, well, we're going. And I said, well, if you lot are going, then I'm not staying here because it's not going very well anyway. And so we all left in the middle of the night and in the Winnebago and left him a letter and left the keyboard and that. He dropped us off at the airport. He had some money from the gigs, what we'd been doing, and he got us some plane tickets to get back to New York so we could get a flight home. Yeah. So we all just got on this plane and then we got to New York and we was just waiting for the plane to fly back to England, and then the thing come over the tannoy saying, Ben Pritchard, can you come to such and such a place? So Ben goes off and me and Steve was sat there and Ben come back. He goes, Mark's contacted us and he's saying like, will you come back and everything? And he's saying he's dead sorry and all that. And I said, well, it's too late now, isn't it? Because the gate's about to open, the bags are on the plane. And during that time, a plane wouldn't take off if it had baggage on it that wasn't and didn't have the person on board because of security reasons and all that, So we said, well, it's tough shit now. Well, and then the gates opened. So we just like went and got home. And then when we got home, he was ringing our house up. I was like, look, mate, I'm sorry about all this. And he's like, yeah, you fucking hell, fucking leaving me in the middle of with no band and all that. I said, yeah, no, but you weren't being very nice, Mark, were you? I said, you were being pretty horrible to everybody. I said, what about the album? Because we'd recorded an album with no vocals on it. He goes, oh, well, that's gone now, innit? In fact, he said, I'm going to scrap that. I said, right, okay. And he bought me a drum kit as well. He said, and what about that fucking drum kit I bought you? I said, well, you haven't paid us for that recording anyway, so we'll just call it quits. And I said, if you want me to come back, I'll come back. And he said, it's too fucking late, And I said, right, see you later then. And that was it. With God, we'd left. Then he got the Americans in, didn't it?
They're actually a really good band, but they did a rush job of an album.
There's one track that was on that album that was part of the album that we'd recorded in. It was over in fucking Lincolnshire, a place called the Chapel, some studio, and we did it with that Grant Showbiz.
Oh yeah, so you had a full record, right, ready to go. You just needed Mark's vocals.
Yeah, he didn't have any ideas at the time for any lyrics or anything. He didn't really come over there that much. He did a little bit of vocal on something, and that was the one that's on that album. I can't remember what it's called now. It's part of what was going to be our next album.
And I know Mark often did his vocals completely separately, or he came later. But did he pretty much leave you to it and then just choose whichever tracks he liked for like him?
On the Heads Roll album. Heads Roll album was pretty amazing, really, like how it came together. It was just so easy to make. I think it was because Ben and Steve, they were pretty good musicians, and when we'd come up with some simple ideas but made them into something good, right away. Yeah, it's got kind of a bit of a soul-y kind of vibe to it. And Yeah, because that's like he took it from that song. There's like an old Northern Soul song. I'm gonna ride away from you. And I'd been playing that in the tour bus on a CD, and that's where Mark got inspired to make that track. And that, yeah, it was really fun to make that. Good fun.
I've got to ask you a couple of things I forgot early on before. What went on with that Bastardo song? Started like singing "Ben is a bastard" over and over.
It's like it's like Tequila.
Right.
Yeah, I was just doing that beat, like that Latin beat. It was like something that it was like just something we were pissing about in the studio. And I always used to play that beat when I was a kid. You know, it's like a sort of Latin beat with where you're playing the bell of the ride cymbal in it. It was kind of like just a bit of fun, really. And I didn't think Mark was going to use it at all. And then what happened was we'd done that as a bit of a jam, really. And I think we weren't thinking anything serious about it ever being on any album or record or anything. But the guy in the studio had recorded it. And the night before, we'd done a late shift. Mark, we'd been drinking. We'd had a few drinks in the studio, and we'd been in the pub as well, as always. And when we got out, like we couldn't get a taxi. It was like a Sunday night, and me and Mark was waiting outside, and I was going to get a taxi back to Fallowfield where I live, and he wanted to get back to his in Prestwich. And we stood there for ages, and he kept wanting me to drive. He's like, "Come on, you." Give us a lift home. Give us a lift home. I said, no, I'm not driving. He was like, oh, come on, fucking get in your car now. So I had a white BMW at the time, an old white 3 Series BM. It was, it used to be my dad's. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Because obviously I didn't want to lose my driving license. So I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And he got really pissed off about it. Eventually we got taxis and we both went home. So the next day, that's when he went to the studio and recorded saying Spen is a bastard over that sort of joke, sort of jam thing that we'd done, you know, the day before. And that's how that came about. And I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty funny.
Fair enough, yeah.
It was all because I didn't give him a lift home the night before.
One last thing about that record, I promise. What's going on with the monkey noises? There's like Ibis Afro Man. There's just 2 minutes of monkey screeching.
Really?
Whose idea was that?
Well, that was another one. We were on tour. And we was in like a travelling thing, and John Cooper Clarke was supporting us, and we'd been in the pub again playing pool with John Cooper Clarke, and it was really funny afternoon. And Eric the Ferret was there with John Cooper Clarke. I think he was like knocking around with him. And Mark, all of a sudden, said to us, "All right, got to do some work now. I want you all in this hotel room in 20 minutes." So we went in one of the hotel rooms. And I had to get the suitcase and put a bass drum pedal to it, and I had to play drums on top of the suitcase. And everyone else just had the guitars not plugged in. And he made us jam out that Ibis Afro Man. That's why it's called Ibis Afro Man, because it was in an Ibis hotel.
Right.
And that's where we jammed it out. And then the next thing we're playing it live. So yeah, that was done in the hotel room. It's an Iggy Pop song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an Iggy Pop cover, but again, the remarkable choice is to have like 2 minutes of what seems to be a sample of a monkey screeching through the middle of it.
I don't know what that. I'd have to listen to it. I've not listened to it for a long time.
It's quite a shocking choice, but it's good. It's a good choice.
Yeah, I'll have a listen this afternoon when I get home. I don't know why did he do them noises.
No, I think it's literally like a sample of a monkey.
Yeah, but it's got like it goes really mental and it chops into other versions. That was another thing that he did quite a lot. He did a bit of editing sometimes. Like sometimes he would where he'll cut to a cassette recording from a practice room from a studio version and then go back into the studio version. You know, stuff like that. He's dead clever like that.
Did you do much moving his vocals around, like pro tooling and stuff, or was it pretty much all live when you were there?
No, like quite a lot of the time, he did his vocals on his own.
Yeah.
When we weren't even allowed there.
Fair enough.
Don't want to give away your secrets.
Most of the time, when he was recording vocals, the band weren't there. Eleanor would be there. Eleanor used to help him write some of the songs as well. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
I think she did. She did chip in quite a lot, I think, later on, definitely.
So, all right, you've gone, and when that next album comes out and it's called Post-Reformation TLC, and I don't know if you know what
Yeah.
the TLC stands for. Did you have a thought
Thieving,
on
lying,
that? It's something like traitors, liars,
thieving.
and cunts. Yeah.
Thieves, thieving, lying cunts, I got told.
Right.
Did they do a T-shirt where Ben and Steve are hanging me?
Oh, I hope not. That wouldn't be very. That would not
Did
be
you
very
not
nice.
see that? Did
I've
you
not.
not see that T-shirt?
No, I
Yeah.
don't condone that business.
There was a fall T-shirt where it looked like Ben and Steve, and then a bald guy with a noose round his neck.
Jesus, that's fucking hell. That's not. That's not all
I
right.
think that was. I know.
Yeah. Oh, so
Pretty funny.
so then once you're done and dusted with the fall. What did you keep yourself busy musically, or did you take a bit of a break?
Yeah, I was doing some recording of some sort. I've been doing stuff. I did some stuff with my mate Jim, who was in Spenser Cloud and Range Brothers. Me and him did like some solo tracks that's on my SoundCloud if you want to go and listen.
Jim's Rolling Beat, yeah. Saying earlier that you did that Orange Skies, and then you told me about the Spenser Cloud and the Wright Brothers, both of which really nice stuff. I was saying like Orange Skies, really rough demos, but actually super nice.
It's Robert Knight, the guy on guitar on that. He's a good guitarist from Chorlton, underrated guy, a mad guy, but good guitarist. And
well,
then,
I'll play a little bit of that stuff on the way out once we've had our chat.
Right now, I'm just playing drums for my daughter and been recording her songs. She's writing her own songs, and she's going under the name of Nico Harmony, which is I've got a guy on guitar, Steve Ness from the Scottish Guy, and then Jim from Spenser Cloud and Range Brothers. He's on bass and I'm on drums. Nico plays guitar and we're singing. She's obviously singing and writing, so we're doing that at the moment.
It's nice jazzy stuff. They got I listened to your album on Bandcamp. Lovely stuff, and glad you've kept your hand in it.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for chatting with us, Spenser. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I think we've covered it. Well, you've covered everything. I'm just kind of sitting back and going, "Oh yeah, that was funny, wasn't it?"
Yeah. I think everyone listening to the pod will have enjoyed listening to this chat. So much appreciated.
Okay. No problem. I've enjoyed it. Thank you. And you. See you, lads. See you.
Walking down the tracks, got tears in my eyes. I'm trying to read a letter from my home. And if the train runs right, I'll be home tomorrow night. But I'm 900 miles from my home, and I hate to hear that lonesome whistle blow. Well, I would pawn you my watch, and I would pawn you my chain. I'd pawn you my gold diamond ring. And if the train runs right, I'll be home tomorrow night. But I'm 900 miles from my home, and I hate to hear that lonesome whistle blow.
Gilded lamps and guided whispers showing us the way. Look for when the lightness flickers in the darkness of today. Your eyes are a blazing red, they fire into the sky. Cast out like massive shadows, follow me to the night. Oh you, oh you, oh you don't